And we are back. Gonna be, oh lord, gonna be continuing our tournament today, our closed qualifiers for the Stars Wars number 11 here. Gonna be continuing in the lower bracket here with a bit of a TVP to determine who's gonna be facing Björn tomorrow. It's gonna be over here in the bottom left-hand corner of our post youth, a blue Protoss player, stats, teamless.
And in the top right-hand corner for Team Liquid, it is Cure.
Nailed it.
Here we go. The new maps do continue. I don't know if you saw the videos, but I believe we're going to be featuring 2 of the new maps here in this best of 3, and I'm more than excited to dive into them. This is a very unique map. I mentioned before how a lot of these are very aggressive, very quirky, very cheesy. I'm going to add that to it because, I don't know if you noticed, you have 2 bases in your main.
You do. It was like a 2v2 map.
Yeah, it's like a 2v2
It's not quite a pocket base. It's, yeah.
And it's not just a second base, it's a gold. Oh wait, no, yeah, it's half a gold. Yeah.
Half gold, half blue. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
It's half not gold.
It's crazy. So basically you get a free natural. You get not just a free natural, but you get a free natural that's half a gold base as well. So because of that, that does give you a really big boost early on, mineral-wise. Likewise, allows you to defend very easily on 2 bases early on as well. And taking your third is going to be a little bit more secure. Your third is a little bit more exposed in your standard third base, true, but I mean, like, the setup here is crazy.
Well, know where I'm dropping. But this has been, I feel... Well, I don't know. I guess we need to see a couple more games on this map in particular, but this feels like a dream scenario for drop Terran players, or Terran players who are really dedicated to drop play.
Maybe. So,
as anyone who's played,
go on.
Anyone who's played 2v2s knows just how out of control dropping into the main, if neither player is really keeping an eye on it, can really get.
Yeah, I'm curious how drop play is going to work. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is no dead air in the corner of the map. It looks like there is, but there isn't, so you have to be very careful. I remember casting the show match with for Jumi. Sorry, it wasn't the Jumi show match. It was I think it was the Gemini show match. But I think that may be I may be thinking of a different map actually. So never mind. I think there is dead space in the corner. I think there is.
Yeah, well. Yeah. Well, regardless, it's going to be a one-way ticket if you're going to be dropping.
Yeah, it may be here.
You're not getting out of there.
Reeve is going to be checking, but it is going to be a 1-1-1 opener here out of Cure. We do have our tech of choice from our Protoss, and it is going to be a Twilight Council from Stats.
Indeed, something very versatile, which I suppose makes sense for a map like this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Very versatile indeed. Reaper dips in. We do get eyes on the tech.
That he does, you know. Don't think too much is going to change here for Cure. He's still going to be going for his normal build, which is going to be a mine drop. Now, the mine changes have gone live, so we do still have that big, visible, much more visible line, and we do get a little bit of an alert if a Widow mine burrows or lands beneath a mineral line or beneath... How does that work? Beneath a worker or beneath a mineral line? I think it's beneath a below. If a mine drops near a worker, then it gets alerted, right?
Yeah.
It's not the mineral itself.
Yeah, it's the burrow. The action of the burrow, I think, is what alerts. So
there we go.
Yeah, that is going to be a big factor as the mine drop is moving out. Another big part of this as well is, of course, the radius has been reduced and the damage on the radius has been reduced as well. We did actually see that yesterday when we were casting Hero in his PvT, and he was able to minimize his losses quite a bit against Cure, against Cure's drop play. So yeah, we'll see if Cure can have a little bit more success here, as he is going to be diving in towards that mineral line.
Yeah, focusing primarily on the gold base. Could be able to pick off 4 probes, which is not too bad. I mean, that's more probes than he than mines.
Yeah, there we go. 4 probes go down. We pick up. We get the hell out of there as well. So very nicely done. Meanwhile, sorry, it wasn't Hero versus Kuro. It was Hero versus Bjorn, where Bjorn was trying to make some mind drops work. But Hero was having a really good defense against them. But here we're going to be settling in. Now, when it comes to the expansion pattern on this map, it is very interesting. There's another gold base that you can take as a 4th. But that center base you can take as a gold is very exposed. So it's very risky to try to expand in that direction.
Yeah, very exposed. It's not even quite those middle bases where you want to take them just to make sure you have a staging ground for later on down the line. Wouldn't mind catching another couple of probes. But in fact, finally being dealt with. Once again, pretty good damage here for Cure, forcing a lot of attention away here from Stats. Stats, meanwhile, very, very quick to invest into Templar Archives. He's researching Storm immediately. This is a 5-minute Storm that's coming down, which is a huge risk for him, considering how aggressive Cure is building right now. Stim about to be finished. He has way more army supply, and most of this army supply for Cure is in Marines and Marauders. If Stats is going to be able to land a Storm, he will be safe, but that's a very big if right now.
Yeah, Storm isn't going to be ready for this first push, and here we go. We are going to be committing behind this. We have a 3rd base on location for Cure, but he's moving out. He has been spotted by the observers. Can Stats hold on? Can he survive long enough to get into that Storm?
I choose to believe. I want to believe in the Shield of Ire right now as Cure decides to go for a drop, and there's already Stalkers to meet that. Not the best decision here from Cure. Fortunately, a little slow to pick up on the fact that Stats, he was ready for this.
Oh my god, the force fields as well. We clean up the Marines, we shut down the Reaper, we shut down the push in general. Very strong defense here. Honestly, if Cure had not gone for a drop, if he had just gone for a straight up push right towards the 3rd base, I think he could have done it. I think he could have broken through. Again, Storm just now finished. It would not have been done in time for the push. But Cure, he went for the drop, he gets shut down, and Stats survives.
He survives, and yeah, as you said, now Storm's done. He's got 4 High Templar out on the map that are going to be continuing to gain energy. He's getting into his tech, he's getting more gateways, and again, that's a half gold base that you have in your main, or in your main half, question mark? It's in your main, but it's not the main that you start with, you know?
It's the main base, you know? The main can be more than what it usually is. It's fine. It's like a thick main.
Yeah, it's the secondary main, you know?
It's yeah. The second main.
It's the neck main.
Okay. Ooh, as a big mine shot going to be going up, getting 3 probe kills again. The radius was reduced, so doesn't get as much as we otherwise could have seen. Meanwhile, at the same time, Stats pushing on forward here, does avoid that mine shot, only connecting with those Zealots. And again, he still has plenty of High Templar hidden in that Prism as well. That's quite a hefty army that Stats is working with.
Yeah, a little bit of a fragile one, but one with a very, very high damage output. A little bit of a glass cannon that he's got on his hands, even more glassy or even more fragile if Cure is able to land 1 or 2 good, even just 1 good EMP, really.
Yeah, and how good are the EMPs? How good are the Storms? That's the big question. As Stats is pushing forward, mine shot's going to be going off. Nice splitting here of those Zealots as the mine shots are baited out. The boys have to be pulled.
And the boys will be caught in this Storm. These are some brilliant Storms coming out here from Stats. A couple of High Templar do get picked off, but it's not going to be enough. GG, Stats with a very solid game at number 1. That was... yeah, I mean, he's just nodding along, and I have to agree with Stats. That was just solid coming out from him. That was the Shield of Ire that I think we know and love and have gotten used to in these past couple of years.
Yeah, very well executed there at a Stats. Again, I still will say that if Cure hadn't gone for a drop, if he had gone for a main push, then we could have seen maybe a different outcome, or at least we could have seen Cure gain a little bit more value, gain a little bit more success. Regardless, after that first push, after that drop was deflected, not just deflected, after it was shut down, mate, Stats was in the drive. Well, he was in the driver's seat. You know, he had weathered the storm and made use of it himself.
Definitely how I'd put it. Yeah, definitely a very, very, very risky build coming out from stats to just delay or robo bay. Conventional wisdom dictates if you want to be playing defensive, especially against a player like Cure, who's known for being aggressive in the matchup, you want to be getting into your Colossus straight away, or you want to be or you want to get Immortals, or you want to do anything other than High Templar.
Mm.
They're just so fragile, and they are very, very hit or miss. But stats, I guess, knew something different. I guess maybe encountered Cure a couple times on this map, and Jose likes to go for drops. Speaking of which, here we are on Oceanborn, bottom right hand. Teamless Blue Protoss. Stats, boys.
And in the top left, we have for Team Liquid, it is Cure. And again, yeah, really impressive stuff here from Stats overall. Especially considering that Stats, he was looking a little bit shaky a couple of months ago, even leading into IEM Katowice, even at IEM Katowice. Stats, he wasn't really able to keep up with the rest of them, with the rest of the pro players from Korea and from the world. But since IEM Katowice, Stats has been really leveling up, and I think even Maru stated recently in GSL about how he has been practicing with Stats, and Stats has been looking pretty damn impressive in practice.
Yeah, it's been super interesting just to follow Stats' journey since he came back from military service. Like you said, he came back, and as everyone expected, he wasn't in form. He was getting taken out by players who historically he's gotten the better hand of. But hey, that's what happens when you haven't been allowed to practice regularly after 2 years. He qualified for IEM Katowice, which was a shock to everyone. Everybody was thinking, "Oh my God, Stats back in form," and yeah, unfortunately, he did kind of get bopped out of his group, which we all thought, yeah, that makes sense once again. But then he started leveling up since coming back from Poland. Then he's all of a sudden knocked a Dark out of GSL, topping his group of all things, and now he's really starting to look very, very formidable. Maybe not, that top tier, that absolutely terrifying Protoss player that he was in the height of 2017, 18, 19, but still, it looks like he's getting back to that form slowly but surely, very, very steadily.
Yeah, I want to believe that a big reason for that is Stats. His travels to IEM, sure, he wasn't able to perform as well as he would have liked to, but I do think he was motivated. I do think that traveling again after a long time, meeting a lot of fans as well. There are a lot of old school fans at IEM, a lot of fans of Stats as well, and I'm sure, again, he was motivated by that, invigorated, that passion was lit, the fire was lit within him, and it's great to see him actually, exceeding and performing damn well here in recent times.
Good job, Light.
True, it was me, Papi.
Yeah.
True.
You signed his jersey, or I guess he didn't have a jersey at the time, but you signed something of his, and he's like, I have to do Papi Bravo.
Oh, Papi. Oh my God.
This one's for fuerte.
Let's go.
Former ex-Splice Boy.
Exactly, the Splice Boy is back. They're having the reunion tour as we speak, and now we have a very different opener here. Instead of a Twilight Council, was a Stargate. So Stargate opener out of Stats. Reaper dips in, avoids that Adept, and it looks like we should get a full scout. We do dive in, and we do get eyes on the Stargate.
Yeah, very important here for Cure. So it's going to be a very different opening from Stats. It's going to be something maybe a little bit less versatile, but something that's going to be potentially more effective against drops. So I'm curious to see how Cure follows up from here. Of course, going for a mine drop still, despite the Phoenixes, is, I would say, worthwhile if you invested in a lower amount of Widow Mines. That's a very clever placement, actually, as our observer demonstrates.
Yeah, very cheeky move there out of Cure, hiding that Widow Mine. But as you were saying, investing into all these Phoenixes is high risk, high reward. I mean, if the Phoenixes, if they come across this trap that has been laid, then we can see things very quickly turn in favor of the Terran as Cure is being active on the map. And we'll see if Stats can keep up with the drop play of Cure.
That we shall find out. Again, opening up with a drop here for Terran is still, I would say, worthwhile just to get the scout off. Cure, however, is very committed to this. We got a Cyclone, we got a couple of Marines, and we even have those 2 Widow Mines from earlier. Just poking around outside of the base of Cure. Stats decides to go all the way into Cure's side of the map with his Phoenixes. There are no defenses over here. Everything is on his side. So Stats is going to be able to pick off quite a number of SCVs while he sets up his defenses back home.
Ooh, even cool. Forcing it. Oh, the retarding. Oh my god. Stats was trying to force some friendly fire, by the way, but no. Cure, he retargets. He breaks through the front line. The boys are being pulled, and so many probes are going to be going down. The Peaks is sure they have returned. That's a lot of firepower for Cure.
Yeah, those 3 or so SCVs that Stats took out earlier on, not going to be worth it at all. GG immediately called. Stats will not quite be having his Phoenixes work out for him. Cure going to be able to equalize.
GG, well played again. This is the risk you take when you open up Phoenixes, is that they are so fragile and you are vulnerable here in the early game, as opposed to Blink Stalkers, where with a gateway heavy composition, you can slow down the army in the middle of the map and you can whittle away at it and, of course, kite back towards the safety of the shield battery. Stats, he called his opponent's bluff. If you remember there, Cure revealed his drop as he was moving out, and Stats, instead of turning back around, he decided to go for economic damage. And as you pointed out, right, he killed, like, what was it, 3 SCVs in that counterattack? But there was nothing in it with that.
It's one of those situations where it's like, I call you a bluff. I'm not bluffing.
He's like, you're not gonna attack me. And like, oh, he's attacking. Oh no, he's attacking. Oh god.
It's like, what are you gonna do? Attack me? Oh no, I'm getting attacked.
Oh no. Not like this. So yes, I'm sure he was hoping to force Cure to turn back around, but as we saw, Cure, he committed up the ramp and there was just nothing to stop him. Just like that, GG, a quick and easy game. And now we're getting ready for Ghost River. I think this was the map that you mentioned before. I think you've seen a little bit of Ghost River.
I've definitely heard a couple of comments coming down.
Yeah, I don't think that this map is the most illegal. I think Post Youth is. Post Youth being, of course, the double main map. But here we go. We're loading into Game 3.
PDA's mentioned here at the top right. It's the blue Protoss teamless. It's that.
And in the top left-hand corner of Post Youth, we have Cure, the Team Liquid.
Is that a Team Liquid jersey?
It says Liquid on it.
It says Liquid on it. I don't know what else it says.
I don't know either. It's Liquid something. Speaking of teams, speaking of sponsors, a shout out to WE Sports New TV, Team WE, SCBoy, Aegon, and Doyu. The main sponsors, of course, for StarsWar 11. Without them, this event would not be possible, so big shout outs as we sink in to this map, because this map is an interesting one, to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Equilibrium, but not.
True. The color palette's similar, but I'm sure you're fully aware that the rush distance by ground on this map is insanely short. It's a very short. I'm pretty sure I could
Much
be mistaken.
more manageable is what you mean.
Very short rush distance by ground. You can make it even shorter if you mine through the mineral patches that are here on the right hand side, where the, of course, ramp is. But at the same time, even though the rush distance by ground, I think it's like a screen away, by the way. It's like a monitor away from from natural to natural. But those ramps are very narrow. So you can take a pretty brutal defensive position on that ramp, and you can defend against all ins.
Just put one mine in that ramp.
Oh.
That's all you need.
Oh, no.
Just put 2 Hellions parked on hold positioning on top of that. You know?
There you go.
But 2 Burrow Banelings. I think one isn't enough.
So I'm quickly double checking here. Okay, so according to math, Ghost River is tied with Post Youth for the shortest rush distance map in the map pool. Is a shorter rush distance than Hard-Led. Hard-Led, of course, was the last map pool's shortest rush distance map in the map pool. So yeah, it takes even less time to get across on Ghost River, equal with Post Youth.
No!
Oh no!
That's, yeah, rough to say the least, and what's rough as well is somebody's not quite cooperating. Somebody's internet is not quite cooperating with us, so we're going to have a quick little pause here. That is surprising to me, to say the least. I mean, I didn't mind Hot-Led's rush distance personally, but I know that was a huge point of contention for, a lot of players. That was one of the things that made hard lead a little bit more vetoed than I think you might have expected, just based on the layout on the map. You know, it looks pretty standard, but it is tiny. So a lot of players did, you know, if they got more than two, if they got more than one or two vetoes, more often than not, we would see hard lead getting vetoed out for a best of three. But yeah, so to have two maps in this current map pool that are even shorter than that is insane to me.
Yeah, and this is what we spoke about earlier about how a lot of the new maps are very aggressive, very unique in their own way, and they have just quite a lot to take in. Again, Ghost River, not just the fact that it's short rush distance, but it can be even shorter if you mine through those minerals, for example. So it can be a giga short rush distance. Likewise, very short rush distance by air as well. So it's just very congested of a map. So Ghost River can lead to a lot of aggression. Likewise, you have post youth where you have like the free natural or the free pocket main base, so which is wild as well. Like again, a lot of these maps are just yeah, they have their own features and it's gonna lead to a very interesting meta, I feel. Like that's what I'm most interested in.
Yeah. This is the time to thrive. If you were, yeah, if you were one of those players who, you know, I'm sad. Like, I wish we had patience in this current map pool.
True.
He would thrive.
Yeah, yeah, you know, if we just had patience, if we just had more creative players here, then they could really flaunt. And there are still some creative players. You know, we have players like Gumiho, players like even Beyond as well that are willing to explore the advantages of these maps. So I do look forward to it. So, you know, again, this map pool is still very fresh, and a lot of players are still sinking their teeth into the potential of these maps.
Yeah. Sure, by the time ESL Masters Spring comes around over in Dallas, we will have a couple of interesting things. Oh, Cure stretching. We have to read a bit more of the shirt. Oh, not
What'd
that
you
much
see?
more. I saw muscles.
Uh-huh.
There's a
And
graphic below the words, it seems.
that's all you. So you were captivated by the muscles. You were captivated by Kiora. I didn't blame you. I didn't blame you. You know, it's he me quite captivated.
I just realized Kieran Sats have the same haircut.
There you go. They
There you
kind
go.
of do. Yeah. Also, my apologies. So both got Ghost River and Post Youth. They are shorter than Hard Lead. But it looks like Ghost River is 1 second longer than Post Youth. There you go.
There we go.
Second longer.
So Post Youth has. So it's not enough that Post Youth just flagrantly breaks the rules and is an illegal map with a half gold base right next to your natural base. It also is the shortest distance map in the current pool.
Mm.
What else are we gonna find out about it? Like,
I,
how many other rules does it broken? Like, well, for one thing, the name is already triggering me.
Mhm. Post Youth.
I'm old.
I mean, what is Post Youth? Oh, we're getting back in.
Well, we'll leave that for chat to ponder. Very deep philosophical question.
Is Steak Post Youth?
I think he's post youth.
He's post old. He's oh god. Smooch. Maybe that's the answer. What's post youth? It's Smooch, Pappy. It's Smooch. I love you, Steve.
That would not be incorrect. Soon we too shall be puppet VTubers.
Yeah.
Nice little bits of nice little bit of control here from Cure. We can see Stats being a little bit frustrated. With his own control, the Adept's not quite able to take out those two Marines.
Yeah, we're going for quite a gateway explosion behind this. There's going to be a Blink Stalker based opener from Stats, but that is going to be 2 extra gates on the way, so 3 gate Blink in total here by Stats. With this, it's quite a defensive way to open up, but it can also be aggressive. It's a double-edged sword. We'll see how in his face Stats plans on being, in the face of Cure, I mean.
Yeah. It's... I think you put it best when you say it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because if you want to play defensively, the way to play defensively is you have to be a bit more active with your defense. You have to be able to stagger the momentum of your Terran opponent, but if you overstay a welcome, if you take one bad blink, if you make one false move, you're going to lose your army, and yeah, you're just going to open yourself up to allow your Terran opponent to really get right on top of you and siege right in front of your face.
Yeah, we'll
see how Cure plays this out.
We shall see. As he's going for a marine jump across the map, he does come across a pylon and is going to try to focus it down. At the same time, Widowmine is waddling into the natural base. You do get eyes on it though, and it looks like the pylon is going to fall. Likewise with a bit of Widowmine burrow. The pylon
finally falls. And stats, tunnel visioning potentially, blinking on forward, taking out that medevac. He will lose one stalker if my memory serves me correctly, so not sure how worth it that was. I mean, he shuts down the drop, so it's got to be at least a little bit worth it.
Yeah, he shuts down the drop. He shut down the Widowmine as well, so he was able to minimize his losses. Something that I found really interesting is that Cure did go for a really fast tank. I believe he already has one tank on the low ground, or one tank. Oh, there we go. Two tanks even covering the low ground and the main base, so he's very well fortified. Tank blows go off. Stats is now aware of the positioning, and Stats, he is retreating and taking up instead. So he's not really being too assertive. He's going for a third base, forge, and charge, just getting ready for the mid game.
Yeah, RoboBay finished up a while ago as well, so now he is going to be starting off Colossus production. And this is yeah, just how we kind of expect a TVP like this, you know, when the Protoss player opens up with Blink to go. Grab Blink to be active on the map and to you know, keep tabs on your Terran opponent, but you know that eventually they're going to try to break out of that. Once they get stim, they want to get a bit more aggressive, a bit more active, and what's the best way to deal with that? Colossus, or, well, as Stats showed us in game number 1, potentially Storm, but yeah, Colossus is definitely a bit more reliable, even if it's not quite as potent.
Yeah, exactly. And the Colossi should be on the horizon here. There we go. First one's on the way for Stats. Meanwhile, the push hasn't spotted, so Stats is going to be able to slow it down and ideally force a siege. As he does pick away at that tank. Shouldn't get a kill here, but again, just slowing Cure down and preparing himself back at home.
Yeah, very, very safe. Even getting these spotter pylons right around the 4th base, just in case Cure decides to go for any drops or to even just, you know, push in from that particular direction. I don't think it's going to be as effective as just going through rush distance, but it can definitely be effective if Stats is out of position.
Yeah, exactly. As a Raven comes in, gets 2 probe kills. Raven survives as well, hidden here behind the main base. Likewise, second Raven comes in, but it looks like we're going to be focused down.
Yeah, one of these Ravens will go down. A couple more probes do fall, but I don't think that was worth losing a Raven. Potentially both Ravens, I think. We don't really have eyes on Raven count right now, but I think Cure has lost both of them.
Ooh, that would be brutal if he lost the first Raven. I think I might see it in the minimap, though. I think it's, you can see like a little square in the corner. So I think it might still barely be alive. We'll get eyes on it momentarily, I'm sure. As for now, Stats is getting ready at that third base. The Colossus count getting higher and higher.
Slowly but surely. And as this Colossus count gets higher and higher, you know, the window for Cure to attack will start closing faster and faster. So Cure, he's thinking a little bit further ahead. He's getting his third base and not pushing just yet. He just wants to... Yeah, he knows that there's no way he can really break Stats with this, so just gotta do what Terran players do best, and rather do what Terran do.
Yeah.
And go for drops while defending.
And there it is. As you say that, we have the drop in towards the natural base. Mine shot's going to be going off as well. Only getting a couple of those turrets before picking up, forcing a recall back home, and the drop will escape into the dead space into the corner of the map.
The Raven
is still alive.
It lived. There we go.
There we go. It's got plenty of energy as well, so we always can threaten a big backstab here with the drops and the Raven alongside it. But the drop wasn't really too successful. I guess it forced a recall, but didn't accomplish too much more than that. Bearing in mind that now recall is on cooldown, and we can see if Cure can pull apart his opponents as he's coming in with another drop on the right-hand side.
Yeah, well, the drop at the top is still alive. Stats are going to reciprocate this and goes for a little bit of a zealot drop of his own. He's have blue speed, I believe, so... Yeah, Cure gonna struggle a little bit to chase down this Warp Prism.
Yeah, so Zealots they get in, but the units are in position, so the Zealots don't really do too much damage. The Prism does survive, though, does live, escaping into the corner of the map as well. Again, this is a lot of dead space to work with, and both players are taking full advantage of that feature of this map.
I like it.
Yeah, you would. You would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have drops at least threatening our players here as we're getting into Bio Viking from the side of Cure. Ghost production well underway as well for the Terran player, and he's settling in quite nicely here on 3 bases. No 4th yet. It is on the way, but hasn't been landed on location. Meanwhile, Stats trying to bait at the army. He does get eyes on this with the Observer.
Yeah, that poor... Well, I guess not the poor Observer, the lucky Observer, just able to get out of protection range. Cure thought he killed it, but he didn't.
It didn't get that Observer. With that, Stats, he shuts down the first push, able to force it back. Disruptors are on the way. Likewise, as we're getting into Disruptors, we're also working towards Vikings and ship weapons, eventually towards Liberators.
It's where all paths end up, really, here for Terran. No matter what the matchup, no matter what the unit composition, eventually you want to get Ghosts, you want to get Liberators, or I guess in PvT you don't need Ghosts, but Liberators are always a necessity in the late game.
Yeah, all roads, a lead to freedom here for Terran. We're not quite there yet, though, and the armies are posturing. They're actually about to come across each other, so we'll see who's able to get the pounce on the other here as Stats does get eyes on this. Likewise pulls back. The army does siege.
Stats will pull away, going for a little bit of a Zealot run by instead. Raven and Medevacs come back in and try to get something done. 3 auto turrets get thrown down. The drops do unload, but Stats has enough back home. 2 chases back. Stats not going to lose a single probe.
Yeah, very nice skin up here from Stats. He will shut this down. At the same time, main army is pushing forward. We're trying to dive on top of these Colossi, but alas, looks like we won't be able to. Decent tank volley is going to be going off, and a big Zealot run by comes in.
Oof. I think that was a kill, not a cancel, so really good job here inside of Stats. He's turning the tables quite a lot. Normally we expect Cure to be the one to really pick apart his Protoss opponent, but Stats showing him what it feels like to be on the other foot. What it feels like to be the player who is getting picked apart.
Yeah, exactly. And so far, Stats, as you mentioned, has been keeping up with Cure, if not exceeding speed a little bit. And we're just mass expanding. We're headed towards the mid-game here, and maybe even longer than that here, as the main armies have yet to really clash. We've been vying for map control, but we haven't really committed yet.
Yeah, just a little bit of a back and forth. That player really confident to tech up too hard from here because they know that, I mean, they're maxed out. If they start to throw away some of their army supply, it's going to take them a while to remax some more desirable units. And if the trade wasn't favorable, they're just giving their opponent an opening. It's true for Cure, but it's especially true for Stats here.
Yeah, and a lot of this is going to come down to who pulls the trigger first here, who's the first to really dive in. It's a scary kind of prospect just because, especially Cure has a really strong defensive advantage with his siege units, whether they're tanks, Widowmines, or even Liberators. Does have that advantage, as it looks like he does come across the Zealots, but he's out of position, by the way. We push up the ramp.
Oof, indeed. So that's going to be trying to warp in back at home to deal with this, but that's a very well targeted pylons. Cure will be able to break on through, will be able to pick off an Archon. This drop finally gets dealt with, but I think that was overall a better trade for Cure.
I mean, that was a lot of ghosts going down, and what did we really trade for that army? We got Zealots, yes, but we didn't kill any Disruptors, we didn't kill any Colossi, no high-tech units went down. Stats, he's able to maintain himself, and Cure has to be careful here. Now, even though Cure did lose a lot of ghosts there, he's got advanced ballistics on the way. Liberators are finally on the horizon, 3-3s on the horizon. We have quite a production tab available here for Cure finishing up.
Yeah, +2 ship weapons, 3/3 bio upgrades, gonna be finishing up pretty soon. And Cure has started to refine his army. Stats now throwing down the fleet beacon, now throwing down a couple more star gates, but at this stage, that's just the beginning. You now need to start trading some of your army. You need to figure out how many gateway units can and should I sacrifice in order to get to my Sky Toss composition. Cure is not going to make it easy on him whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, look at the bank of stats. What I mean by that is that stats, he could have transitioned earlier. He could have started transition much earlier. Like, this Sky Toss is still a ways away, and I believe Cure should be looking to fight first before stats can really get into Carriers, Mothership, and Tempest. So I want to give the edge to Cure, but if the game goes on long enough, then stats can refine his army and get into that Sky Toss.
Key operative word here being can. Or to see how viable that really is right now for stats, as he's been banking up his resources, as you mentioned, so he can switch into that, but even still.
Yeah, we'll see here as we do have Carriers on the way, Storm is on the way as well. Cure is building up, both players have maxed out, and 3-3 is done. 3-3 is now done for Cure, his upgrade timing is here. Will he be able to engage though, as we have a massive Zealot Army coming in? There are some Liberators here, but they're not going to be able to slow down all of them.
Or even a few of them, as it looks like most of them are able to break into mineral lines for SCBs to go down.
That's 4 Cs, but that was a lot of freedom. that was a lot of liberation, so shutting down those zealots, so very nice cleanup there by Cure. Meanwhile, the map has been cut in half. We've split the map vertically in half here. Half for stats, half for Cure. We are maxing out. Carriers are well underway. We could be in for a bit of a longer one here if we don't clash soon. Like, we could settle in.
Oh, strap yourselves in, everyone. As... boy. So I see cannons get thrown around here for stats, and okay. So I see the carrier protection on the way.
Oh no, stay with me, Poppy.
This is bringing back memories.
It's okay. You're not in the
memories
game.
that I don't want to remember.
You're not playing Yaku. It's okay. It's they can't
Oh yeah,
hurt you.
why am I pressing buttons?
The carriers can't hurt you, Poppy. They can't hurt you. But they can hurt Cure, which is concerning. I mean, thankfully, we saw the scan earlier. Cure, he saw the Skytos transition. And what does Cure throw down? He threw down like 3 more starports, plus 3 ship weapons on the way. Cure, he's amassing a Viking army, plus EMPs, plus those ghosts. And it's going to be ideal here for Cure. But again, Cure needs a little bit more time. As stats, he's looking to push in. Oh.
He is going to push in, but Cure's denying him entry each and every time, here and there. As this one Marine is the absolute MVP of this base, at least, able to take out 4 probes on his own. What we can really do right now as Cure to really keep stats' economy down. Again, carriers are very expensive units, and interceptors aren't super expensive on your own, but they do have a funny way of stacking up very, very quickly.
That they do, and again, the armies are just posturing. We can see a couple of EMPs thrown down here and there, but no one is committing. Jesus, that Viking count is getting insanely high. I'm worried it's getting a little bit too high. Stats should be getting ready for a ground transition and trying to force that to be dead supply, essentially, and just over-investing into Vikings. We do have a couple of carriers, but again, I believe that's, what, 5, 6 carriers here? We can always go for, like, a big warping of Stalkers after the fight.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky to figure out what the golden ratio of sky units you want in a scenario like this are as a Terran player. Because like you said, very quick transition to ground toss once Stats is able to use his carriers to bleed out the army of Cure. It's going to be devastating against all those Vikings. Sure, Vikings can land, sure, Vikings can do extra damage against Stalkers, but they're very unmaneuverable. They have a pretty short range on ground, so yeah, Stalkers should be able to just outrange them, if not outright kill them, if there are a handful of Immortals thrown into the mix.
Yeah, and that's assuming that, you know, that's where we head, right? Where we start working towards a ground transition. But now we can see Stats trading out his Stalkers, getting as much value as possible. He throws down 3 more Stargates, by the way, instead of going for additional gateways. So it looks like Stats, he wants to commit to almost pure Sky Toss.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting choice to say the least, especially with Cure being this heavily invested into Vikings. Starting to see missile turrets on the map. Okay.
Yeah, just a field of turrets here for Cure. Of course, that will help out against all those carriers, against all those interceptors. The liberation zones, they're amassing. Nukes are going to be on the way here towards the forward base, and again, this stack defense is going to go down. Again, this is a great way to start to carve your way out towards the bases of Stats.
Yeah, without a doubt, as we can see already with the few number of carriers or cannons that are on the map right now, there's nothing really stopping these Liberators from sieging on forward.
Yeah, and you can see Liberators bully this back. There is still a wall of cannons, but we can soon throw down another nuke here on top of this, as we're just edging on forward here on top of these shield batteries, on top of these cannons. Cannons are going down. It looks like we're gaining ground here. We are gaining control of this center base. Stats, he can't just give it up, but at the same time, without Tempest, you can't really do anything about this. And this is where I have to be a little bit critical of the army composition of Stats. How do you deal with this Sky Terran army? Usually you outrange it with Tempest, and we have not invested into Tempest at all.
Yeah, literally just about anything else. Tempest, Storms, Archons, hell, even Mass Blink Stalker would be able to deal with a Sky Terran army of this caliber, but I guess Stats... Actually, I don't know. I was going to say maybe Stats is worried about the Ghost, and, you know, he doesn't want to leave anything too vulnerable to EMP, but everything that a Protoss player can make is vulnerable to EMP in one way or another.
Yeah, and you can see here Stats, he's going pure carrier. Like, he's got 4 more carriers on the way. Yes, he has some supportive units here in the Colossi and the Disruptors, but there's only a handful of them, and again, he's mainly relying on pure carrier. Like, it can snowball out of control, don't get us wrong. Like, pure carrier can work, it can win fights, but as you mentioned, like, if they bunch up, if we get a big EMP, then this army can crumble.
Yeah. And with this many Liberators in the air, you know, the splash damage as well from them can actually be impactful in such a scenario. Stats is on his way to getting Supermax, and what that means is that he's lowered his worker count to almost deliberately in order to get a higher army count.
Yes, so he does have that higher army supply. Meanwhile, Stats did lose a base, which is important. The fact that Secure is now technically up a base and has a better economy, so Stats, I'm sure, is pressured to fight for that. Nuke is going to be on the way. Liberator has coming in here from the south as well. And we are just trying to pick Stats apart. Lovely Nova here from Stats. He does deny at least the first nuke, but nukes are continuing.
And you're falling where you least expect them, question mark? Or is that where you most expect them?
Up!
In a base like that. Well, I can tell you definitely that Nova was going where it expected the Ghost to be.
It didn't quite connect, though. The nuke did land. It does soften up the southern base, and that could be where Cure heads next. Again, we are still amassing more carriers, by the way. That is insane. I want to say we have like 15 carriers, like something along those lines. An obscene amount of carriers. Is it going to work out well, though? Like, it's going to come down to one big fight. It's going to come down to one big clash of armies.
And is that clash happening soon? Well, probably not, as yeah, more Ghost nukes get denied. That's dipping in slowly but surely. He really wants to put an end to this sooner rather than later. Both players throwing away the SCVs. They've outserved their purpose at this point.
Yeah, they have outserved.
Yes, that's actually getting rid of his Colossus to get more carriers. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, we don't need the Colossi. I know where we're going, as we're making 6 more carriers, but How many carriers do we have? I said 15 earlier. We could be going up to 20, maybe even more than that. I feel like we need a graphic soon. We need to figure out, like, what is 25 carrier? What is that? What do you call a group of 25 carriers?
A bus.
Oh boy, here we go. Now, thankfully, it isn't pure carrier. We still have a couple of storms. We still have a couple of storms available. 70 birds go down. Oh, big nuke here on the bottom right-hand base. We're going for another nuke, by the way. Stats a little bit preoccupied.
Yes, tension definitely elsewhere. The nuke will land. Meanwhile, back at home, Secure started to chase away the SkyToss army.
And again, here taking Stats' base there, taking some of his minerals, will have the better economy. Stats does have a decent bank here, decent mineral bank at least, and ooh, Curie's actually working towards BCs. I mean, working towards it. Not there yet, but it's on the horizon.
Yeah, it's an option for if this game continues. For as long as it has, and will likely continue for quite some time. I like this idea here from Cure.
Yeah, I mean, we casted Maru not too long ago in the late game TVP on Radisson Station, and Maru did go mass BC, and he just tore SkyToss apart. That was also Maru. We'll see if Cure can pull that off as well, as it looks like the armies are going to be engaged. We catch out some of these guys, we catch out some of these Liberators.
And the main army was just not quite in position here for Cure, but it may not matter in the end. A little bit of friendly fire. Catching 1 or 2 Vikings, but not too many of them. The remainder of them remain in almost perfect health, but here comes the Mama ship. We'll be throwing out that time zone before minus 300-ing. Vertical mass.
Yeah, good kiting there out of Cure. He doesn't quite get any carriers, but he does kill the mothership. You can see him on the hunt, looking to pick off any stray units whenever possible. And there's the transition, well, there's the follow-up. Blinkstalkers are on the way.
Just like so. I want to point out that Stats has stopped mining almost entirely. He stopped mining gas completely, and he's only getting a little bit of mineral income here and there. He wants to end it. He is super all in.
Yeah, nuke is on the way, but unfortunately it's going to barely miss the army. Does not connect here with the carriers. We make our way into the main base. We came to the production. We have to fight.
We have to fight. That's a good arc here for Cure, but those are some even better storms. No EMPs available whatsoever here for Cure. Just has no answer to this. It looks like Stats is going to be eliminating Cure. This has got to be his last legs. I mean, he's got a massive gas bank, but no minerals.
Exactly. He takes down all the production buildings here. Curie plummets in supply. GG gets called. Cure cannot remax. And Stats, he pulls it off with mass carrier. GG.
And if you tell me in January that Stats would be eliminating Dark and Cure from 2 different tournaments, I'd have told you were crazy. You told me that in February, I would have said, not too likely. If you would have told me that at the start of this month, I would have said, but now, I'm all in. Stats, boys, we back!
Stats is back. GG, well played. Stats able to cut the map in half, able to get into pure carrier, and more importantly, I do think that in a longer game, if it had been drawn out, if there were these small skirmishes and small pickups, I would give the edge to Cure. Instead, Stats, he went for the kill. He went straight for the kill. He ignored dancing with the army, came to production. That was the win condition for Stats, is to force the fight out of Cure. With that GG, well played. Stats advances on. Cure is eliminated. We're going to be going on a short break. When we return, the TVPs continue with Maru versus Classic.
Indeed. A second qualifying match. See you soon. See you then.